Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Golden Nuggets podcast. My name is Nazreen. I have Hanafi beside me, and Amir is the main host of the show. So today, Hanafi, we have a storyteller.
Yes.
Someone who's reputable in the industry, I feel.
Yeah.
It's been a while as we not invite him since we spoke to Brand.
Yeah.
Remember? So, why don't you introduce him?
Hey, you should be the one introducing him. So, you have the LinkedIn, right? Then you introduce him lah.
Okay, we have Sam Neo to the show. Welcome, brother.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, Sam. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you share a bit more about who is Sam Neo?
Sam Neo is a father with one kid.
Okay.
I call myself a dadpreneur. So dad first, entrepreneur second.
Right.
I came from a corporate HR background. So I was in corporate HR for about 7 years or so. How I got into HR was actually quite interesting. So I've always wanted to do marketing, branding. In fact, the company that I always aspired to join was Nike. I love the advertisements. I love the storytelling. Yeah. But never quite got the opportunity to go there. And one day I did an internship with a manufacturing company. It was HR. It was kind of by chance, right?
Okay.
And I fell in love with HR actually. So it kind of made me realize that, marketing and branding sometimes, or rather marketing, right? It's kind of like a fireworks. It's great, it's amazing, but sometimes the effect is just once off and people don't quite remember it.
Yes.
HR on the other hand, right? It's interesting because behind the scenes, no one sees what you do, the dirty work itself.
Yeah.
But it has a long-lasting effect on people.
Yes.
So happy to share more stories later, but that actually got me interested in HR.
Okay.
And I was quite lucky to get a scholarship from the Ministry of Manpower back then.
Okay.
That was the very first national HR scholarship. So I was the very first recipient back then. That started my HR journey. 7 years into corporate HR before transitioning out as an entrepreneur that started as a solo consultant and since moved on to multiple businesses. Yeah.
Wow. What a colorful story. HR. I think that's interesting because first of all, we never had any HR personnel before in our show.
Yeah.
And secondly, when you mention about how it has lasting impact on the individual, actually it's true because I actually remember my HR more than my previous supervisors.
Okay.
The HR who assisted me in getting a job. Yeah, and on top of that, what I see is the HR themselves, they create their own community, or at least this is what I see from my industry. They create their own community of because I'm a nurse, right? Of nurses. And whenever there's any jobs that is needed or whatsoever, they just blast out to the people or the leads that they have collected in the past, and then eventually they get people to sign up for a job or something like that. So technically, your entrepreneurial journey start when you were HR. Would you agree with that?
Not exactly. You know why? Because I've never thought of becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Right. Even as an entrepreneur, even the smallest percentage of it, it was more like, okay, after I retire at the apex of my corporate job. So I've always thought, go the traditional route. I was brought up in the middle income traditional family, right? Just get a good degree. If you can get a scholarship, get a job as soon as you can. And just progress up, right? Progress upwards. And eventually after that, when you retire, maybe, do a side job as a consultant advisor kind of thing. That was my mindset.
Okay.
But what happened was then when I was 29, so a bit of this quarter life crisis happened, I would say, right? And it was, I was in Changi Airport Group back then.
Okay.
It was very comfortable, good pay, good colleagues, good company brand, good office, obviously, right?
Yeah.
The environment so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I felt lost. That was
Okay.
the irony of it, right? And I realized that, I felt lost and this uncomfortable because it was so comfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
At 29, I felt that shouldn't I be doing more?
Yeah.
Shouldn't I be trying to push myself a little bit more, right? In Hokkien, we say you need to chiong a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. But it just felt that no matter how much I asked for more work and stuff like that, it didn't felt fulfilling.
Okay.
So I started looking for answers, like what's happening? And I wasn't satisfied. I was actively looking for jobs in a sense through LinkedIn. That was how I started my LinkedIn journey in some sense.
Okay.
And because of the way I put myself out, so I didn't just put message out to look for jobs. I started creating content to kind of give back to the HR community and stuff like that, right? Hoping to seek some answers.
Okay.
I have a philosophy in life, is good attracts good. I believe that if you have good intention, you put good things out, good things happen. And I think that really helped me. So what happened was I started becoming more active in local HR communities, online, offline. And that attracted two mentors into my life.
Okay.
The two mentors were interestingly the founder of two separate HR communities in Singapore. It was pretty big back then.
Okay.
And they really liked the fact that I was kind of giving and my thinking was kind of mature as a young professional.
Yeah.
So they say, hey, I'd like to mentor you and guide you in a sense.
Wow, okay.
Back then, I had no concept of mentorship.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it's like I was brought up in an environment where don't ask for help,
Yeah.
find answers yourself. Right? If you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah,
should
yeah,
never ask
yeah,
for help.
yeah.
I think our generation, millennials and
Yes.
older, we understand that.
Yes.
So it was a very foreign concept to me. And it was like, why would someone want to help you as a stranger?
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like, is there any agenda or
Yes,
something like
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
right?
What are they getting in return?
Yeah, so it's so weird. But I decided to kind of take a leap of faith, and I just believe, and whatever they shared with me, like, do this, do that, I just proactively do it. So I see myself as a very, very good mentee in that sense. Right?
Okay.
Which set a high bar for me when I'm a mentor to others as well, in
Yeah.
some sense. But that really helped me. They helped me open my eyes to what I could do differently. And in fact, that was where the idea of entrepreneurship was seeded into my mind.
Okay.
Okay.
That perhaps, you can take different paths in life.
Yeah.
Corporate is one, entrepreneurship is another, and there are many, many other ways as well. So how I see things is then, if you look at career, right, it's like a vehicle. Some of us, we look at the likes of Ferrari. We need adrenaline rush. We feel good with all this fast lane, right?
Yeah.
Some of us prefer something safe. It could be like a Volvo.
Yeah.
Some of us believe in certain social cause, sustainability, maybe an EV like BYD,
Yeah.
Tesla, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So likewise, choose something that suits you to get you to the destination in the most efficient, effective manner. That's how I see it. So that was how I kind of transitioned out from corporate to entrepreneurship, actually.
Okay. Before that transition, right? Or perhaps let me reframe the question. If let's say you were to stay at where you were at that point of time, how do you think your life will turn out right now?
I would say it depends on which companies I go to, but back then, right, I was constantly getting calls, actually. I was getting a lot headhunted by a lot of companies. In fact, my second company I was headhunted there. But the problem was this, I noticed. A lot of headhunters that came to me, the opportunities were mostly for local companies or government-linked companies.
Okay.
Because I was in Keppel, I was in Changi Airport Group. So that branding, right, which is why I kept emphasizing on personal branding, right? The branding was more like, this guy is comfortable in this space, this guy suits this space.
Yeah.
So I realized that I have to start breaking the mold. If I keep staying corporate, my trajectory wouldn't be as fast. And it'll probably be kind of stagnant in this segment in some sense, right? And I felt that if I were to kind of stay in corporate, MNCs or FMCG, all these kind of fast-moving organizations will probably suit me better, but the opportunities didn't come. Because my brand at that point in time was more like the government-linked company guy, the scholar and stuff like that. So I felt that I had to move out to break the mold a little bit, which interestingly, within about 2 years, so back then in Changi Airport Group, I was at a mid-management level.
Yeah.
Wasn't very senior. But when I came out, right, within 2 years, I had offered to do a global HR director role, actually, in a hospitality company.
Oh,
I rejected it because back then I was starting my second company, Stories of Asia. So I referred a friend and stuff like that. But the point is, when it comes to personal branding, I thought it's very, very important because if you're always in a specific company, specific comfort zone of sort, yes, you can do well, you're comfortable, but it limits your opportunity, which is why it's important for us to always take a step back.
Okay.
To think about what's next, right?
Yeah.
And think about how can we increase our options. To me, branding is about creating options for yourself rather than others controlling the narrative to say, oh, you are this and fix you in a mold.
Before we go any further, right, to uncover your entrepreneurial journey, let's backtrack a bit. Okay, because being an entrepreneur, you need a lot of resilience. So I want to know where that resilience come from. Share with us a bit more about how your childhood was like, how your time during school was like what seeded the trait of being resilient in you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say I come from a very comfortable family. I mean, it's not very rich or whatever, but I never had to worry about my next meal. I worry about going to school, allowance and stuff like that. But I felt what really seeded that resilience, if you talk about childhood, is probably my sports background.
Okay.
Wow.
So
okay.
I was an active sports person. I represented my school. Never
what
got to national
sports?
level. Basketball. I was
Okay.
basketball.
Oh,
I started in badminton. I went to basketball. I pivoted in golf because of injuries and stuff like that. I felt that sports was a very important element in my life, in my childhood in particular, right? So basketball in particular were like from my secondary school days to my junior college days. A lot of setbacks, obviously. I was the team captain in my secondary school.
Nice.
We had good and bad moments. But through that journey itself, it taught me how to fight back. Right? It taught me how to fight through crisis, fight through tough moments. It taught me the importance of really, the mental resilience part besides physical resilience part. So I'll attribute that to towards how I'm very resilient these days in terms of the fighting mindset, never give up, or knowing when to give up at a later stage after you tried enough. In that sense.
I mean, you were a scholar, so does that mean like academically you were also doing very well at a point of time?
I was okay. I think I always say that, the scholarship was like the very first year.
Okay.
So it was much easier. The bar was lower, right?
Yeah.
So I applied for it, and thankfully I got it. Interestingly, at that point in time, usually when you think of scholars, you think of having to be first class honors, second upper.
Yeah.
So I graduated with second upper eventually.
Okay.
By that point in time, I was like a second lower or something like that, or much lower, because I wasn't doing very well in my first year in university.
Uh-huh.
But I think they were kind of captivated by my passion in that HR space and some of my personal stories, I guess. So that helped. And I was able to convince them that, I'm on uptrend, there's some potential, invest in me. And I guess that helped a little bit. So storytelling matters, I would say.
And where does the interest of HR actually come from?
It was the internship. So the scholarship was very timely, right? It came at a point where it was towards the tail end of my scholarship, towards the tail end of my internship. And the internship influenced me a lot because I kind of work with very, very good managers, right? Where they shared a lot of personal stories on why HR. So I remember this story vividly, right?
Okay.
This manager, he shared with me, he asked me this question like, why do you want to join HR? And typically the answer is, I like to work with people, right? Then you call me my BS, like every company, every role you work with people, why do you need to be HR?
Yeah.
And he shared with me that HR is not for everyone. In fact, in his term, it's like a shit job, right?
Yeah.
Don't join HR, it's not for everyone. Then I asked him like, then why you stayed in HR for 20 plus 30 years? He shared this very powerful story with me. He said, back then when he was a pretty junior recruiter in the company itself, he actually had to interview this person, this candidate. And at that point in time, it was like a 50-50, right? Should we bring him in? Should we not bring him in? And he decided to take a bet on this person.
Okay.
Fast forward 10 years' time, this person became someone very senior in the company itself. And the person came back to thank him. Say, hey, thank you so much for trusting me, giving me the opportunity, which helped me grow my career within the company. And it shared me that the meaning behind HR, right, often, at least from a recruitment point of view, talent point of view, is then sometimes you're taking a bet on someone. And it's not just about taking a bet in terms of a yes or no kind of situation, but it could be life-changing for an individual. And that kind of sank into me. I mean, as I speak, I'm getting a bit goosebumps, reliving that moment, right? It's very empowering in some sense. So it's not just about personal glam. It's not so much about feeling good or looking good in a sense, but some things don't happen straight away. It may happen 5 years, 10 years down the road. But the point is, you're making a huge difference in somebody's life, which could then create a ripple effect around it. So that made me realize that HR is actually very meaningful. But unfortunately, in the market at this moment, it still requires a lot of education, which is why I kept, advocating this HR rebrand movement, where there are a lot of good people in the market, but they're not seen in a way where it's positive for most cases. Because most people think of HR as, the one that cuts headcount, cuts your budget, try to squeeze you during during the recruitment phase. A lot of bad rap, right? Which is why I feel that it's very meaningful to advocate. So even though now I don't exactly do HR work, because HR is my client in that sense, but I still feel a strong passion in advocating for this profession that got me started, and one that I see a lot of purpose in actually.
Okay. If someone is aspiring to be a HR professional, what would your best advice be for them? Or what would be the perhaps a story or something that you can share with them to make sure that eventually they will really look at this career as something very meaningful for them in the future?
I would say I'll use the story of what the manager shared with me. Right? To me, that was a life-changing story, at least from a HR perspective. And I'd like to let them know that in HR, very often you don't get that recognition that you truly deserve. Maybe not yet, right? But it's something that is very, very meaningful. I think a lot of people that stay in HR for a long time is because they truly appreciate that intrinsic value that they bring. Something that's fulfilling without the official recognition, because very often you don't get recognized. You might even get negative rap or bad rap in the market. So they have to be ready for this, to understand that you may not get the recognition that you think you deserve, but the recognition comes in a different shape and form.
Okay.
And yes, it's about people, but you shouldn't start just because I like to work with people, because it can be any role, right? But it's more about, are you ready to really make a deep impact? Are you ready to kind of create business impact through people? I think that's what HR is all about. It's not just about making people happy. Making people happy, you can just sell ice creams basically, right?
That's true.
But the point is, it's still an organizational need. HR is still a corporate function, which means that there's still a business outcome you have to drive.
Yeah.
And HR has to focus on working with people and leveraging through people to drive business outcome and balancing between company management needs and the people needs. I think that's something that most people don't quite think enough when going to the profession itself.
Okay. A lot of people don't know that within HR itself, there are different roles that you need to do, because recruitment is just one thing.
Yep.
And that is something that people always see. What are the other roles of a HR personnel?
There are multiple. Of course, recruitment is probably the first touch point you see.
Yeah.
There are people in bigger organizations, at least, right? There are what we call like the talent management group.
Okay.
They develop employees, they manage your potential, they talk about progression. There are people within the rewards team. Rewards is typically a compensation benefits, stuff like that. You have people within what we call the shared services that helps to manage maybe more the back-end admin, streamlining processes for different functions. So the different roles, and HR business partner, one of my favorite roles, which is more about partnering the business. These are a group of people that typically are more business savvy, that relatively more senior in the proper terms, because HRBP, this term is quite loosely used in the market.
Yeah.
Some people use it for generalists as well.
Yep.
Of course, there's the operations side of HR, so multiple roles. And I feel that what's important is to find something that fits you, right? Because some people, they prefer to be more back-end. I don't want to have the limelight, I don't want to face stakeholders. So things like, the compensation benefits, the learning development side could help them. Because it's more back-end, but you still see the impact. People who are more front-facing, they love the action, but may not be deep expert in all the areas.
Yeah.
Something like a generalist, like a HR business partner, will suit them better, right? Because they get to see more things, they get to make impact, they get to manage stakeholders. So depends on interest, depends on expertise as well.
Do you think it's necessary for a startup to actually focus on their HR also? Because that can be a hefty investment for them, right?
Absolutely. And I always say, right, the very first HR person in the company should be the founder.
Yeah.
The founder should have a HR and people mindset. So let's take away HR, or people call people team these days, right? But just think of it from people perspective. Regardless of which company you're in, what setup, whether it's a tech company, whether it's a service company, podcast company, for example, it's always about people first. People is a common denominator, right? And if people is a common denominator, why isn't HR playing a bigger role? And it doesn't mean you need a HR, full-fledged HR function. But from a founder point of view, management point of view, there must be a people centricity involved.
Okay.
Where you think of how can you first and foremost enable your people so that people can enable your organization. I think that's very important, actually.
Sam, the way I see it, right, HR is like the internal branding or the employee branding, right? As much as we see like our staff or team members walking around, the walking brand of the company, right? What people don't see, like you say, like it's really sometimes taking a bad rep, because these are like the things that people don't see. And I've worked in-house as a brand manager before, and sometimes I feel like I'm arguing with the HR, like, hey, you should be telling me this and this so that I can prepare to make it look even nicer before you hand off to the
client.
To the client or the employee, right? So in your perspective, just to try and understand a bit deeper, how in sync should the HR department be with the branding side of things?
Yeah.
I would say
Or
that-
at least the personal brand of the employees within the organization.
Yeah.
I think this is still a relatively new thing in most corporates, at least within Asia itself. Right?
Okay.
In the past 1 or 2 years, we do see increasingly more HRs or corporates investing in the personal brand of employees. I mean, that's the area that I work in, so I'm quite familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the past, the concern was then, if I build a personal brand, my employees, what if the employees leave?
Yeah,
To
they run
compensate
away
leaders?
and so on. Yeah.
That's a common concern, right?
Yeah.
But these days, we also realize the other side is then companies need employees to leverage on personal brand to advocate the employer brand and the business brand outside.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, like it or not, these days with social media and how AI generation and stuff like that, people are seeing more and more content, more messages out there. And the problem is, if things come down from corporate, come from HR, come from corp comms, it comes across as very corporate spin.
Yeah.
People don't quite buy.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why companies are tapping more on employee voices.
Yeah.
There's a bit more raw, there's a bit more somewhat authentic in some sense to create a connection with the public, to create trustworthiness. So that's why companies are slowly investing, starting from leadership level and cascading down.
Yeah.
Of course, there still has to be some kind of a guardrail, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that employees don't say certain things.
Yes.
and stuff like that. But the balance is between creating the OB marker, I would say, to make sure that they feel safe enough to say things that are okay, while not, dictating what they should say.
Okay.
So what's important to me is then when it comes to branding, right, is then companies need to provide guideline. What are the kind of the content pillars or key focus areas for employees, and allow employees that room to talk about these topics with their own lens. So it becomes very rich, very dynamic, very authentic, yet it's within the boundaries, while also reinforcing the key pointers, right, that the company wants them to reinforce. That is magic, actually.
Nowadays, there's a lot of talk about employee creators, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that is that the shift that you are actually looking at right now?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think companies are tapping more on employees. So we talk about employee advocacy, basically, right?
Yeah.
So we also talk about things like brand ambassadors within the organization. These are the most powerful ambassadors because if they truly believe in your organization, right, they will talk about it. And like it or not, we just use LinkedIn as an example.
Yeah.
They will list themselves as employees of the company.
Yeah.
Even if you're not officially representing the company, when people look at their profile, when people talk to them, naturally they associate whatever message they have with them. So instead of keeping it loose and hoping that something good happens, organizations should start thinking of how can I take control of the narrative by being proactive. Nurture these people, give them the tools, make them feel good so that they truly want to advocate for you. It's a win-win.
How do you think the employee creators should be incentivized if, let's say, they were to do this for the company?
Yeah, I mean, behind the scenes, they're like doing so many things, right? And then
Extra pay.
And you know how
Bonus.
hard content creation is, right? So if they are an employee creator, how do you think they should be incentivized on top of the fact that they are doing their primary role?
This is kind of tricky, to be honest, because you don't want to make it like it's like a transactional thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where, if you're actively posting, you get more, you get a higher rating, you get better bonus. That shouldn't be the incentive in some sense. But I think you can kind of have unofficial recognitions. Right? For example, putting them into some exclusive club where they get to meet your management, they get celebrated, recognized for certain things. My take is it shouldn't be monetary.
Okay.
Because it brings a different feel altogether.
Right.
It should be a bit more of an intrinsic recognition in that sense. On the other hand, I think employers should also recognize something that no one's going to stay in company forever these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's no pension, there's no reason for that kind of loyalty forever these days.
yeah.
But loyalty to me these days is more about within the stint you're in the company, give it your best or go above and beyond. Right? To me, that's loyalty, essentially, these days. So for employees, I think companies, first thing, they recognize that it's not going to be forever. Second thing is then you have to think of how can you help employees progress in their career and in their life? Meaning what's next after this stint with us? Right? And letting them know that building personal branding, content creation as part of it, it's not just about advocating for a company, but it's also building market value for themselves, whether it's talking about internal progression or external progression.
Okay.
If a company is open enough and progressive enough to see that, to have that kind of conversation, you're creating a win-win situation with the employees. And trust me, I mean, when that happens, chances are employees want to stay even longer. Not forever, but even longer, because they recognize that company truly cares, company is progressive, and company is building towards something that's valuable for me and not just for the organization specifically.
Right. But it really depends on the roles as well, right? Let's say for admin, they have a chunk of things to do. Scope. And one thing to do and then content creation online, it's gonna be like, I don't know,
a whole different ballgame.
So if let's say one didn't do, then it feels like it's not on par with the rest of the colleagues. Do you think like some companies should hire a specific brand, how to say it, the face of the company,
ambassador
or something like that, just to do that role? I don't know, or it is advocating best for employees. So it's like.
So that other employees don't feel like so inferior because for example, Nazrin is posting daily and I'm like posting like once a week, and then I'm like, hey, Nazrin is like posting,
because there's no one taking care of us in this space. So how is he a manager? I don't know. So
it's a very multifaceted question in my opinion. I think first thing is these days, increasingly in the past few years, you see a group of employees that are hired not just because they're capable, they may not be the best fit in terms of capabilities at times. But they're hired because they're called personality hires.
Okay.
Right? Meaning they have certain level of influence externally. They are kind of mini influencers or key opinion leaders, KOLs. Right?
right.
Companies want them because these are people that can create a bit of influence, a bit of brand awareness out in the market. So it's one group. To Nasri's question, actually, internally, I feel that everyone should be proactive in building a brand. Unfortunately, most of them are not. Why? Because, like it or not, in most cases, I say 99% of the case, right? Companies are not going to take care of you forever.
Yeah.
You have to take charge of your career.
Exactly.
Right? So why are you not building a brand actively and seeing yourself as an entity? And if you look at the market now, right, with AI being very active, it's replacing jobs. I'm not saying that no new jobs are being created. There will be.
Yes.
But you see a trend. The trend is then there are fewer and fewer full-time jobs. It's shrinking. In the next 5 years, you'll see it's going to shrink even more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And more people have to be on their own in one way or another. Freelance, set up business and things like that. Which means your personal brand becomes even more important. To start thinking of yourself as an entity. How can you keep building your value, your marketability, and employability for that matter? I think that's very important. If you don't do that, right, no one's going to take care of you. And if you're just focusing on a single track that, okay, I'm going to progress in a very, standard way, where it's like the typical career corporate ladder, right? You're not going to go anywhere. These days, we talk about moving in a career jungle.
Okay.
Meaning, right, things can be lateral. It's about building your muscles, right? Building skill sets, building your competency, and making yourself valuable, marketable in the market. Right? You need to have multiple toolkits. So my analogy is always like, have a toolkit. When you're in corporate, whether you're doing entrepreneurship, you need to build all these toolkits, right? And when the opportunity comes, so let's say now there's a disruption in AI, for example. What are the tools that you can take out, right, to mix and match, to give you the best chance to win this war itself, or to solve this problem, to make yourself marketable? You don't have to take everything, but you got to keep building, right? Which is where I focus on in my 20s, basically, right? Early stage of my career. Keep building my tools. Whatever experience I have, I just build. Whatever skills I can build, I just build. And when I hit 30, that was when I came as an entrepreneur. I knew I have a toolkit, right?
Okay.
Of course, it's not enough. You've got to keep building. But this toolkit gives me some leverage to get started because I have more to mix and match as compared to a lot of my peers. And that helped me to kind of pivot, to grow more and more, to get more business. So that really helped a lot. So my advice out there is then start thinking, how do you build this toolkit? How to build your brand? Because without building a brand, you are actually putting yourself at risk these days. I think it's something very important, I would say.
Earlier you mentioned that there are two mentors that you eventually met, and they were the ones who inspired you to start your entrepreneurial journey. What was the conversation like, or what was the actual trigger for you to actually consider this as an option?
I think in particular was one mentor. His name is Lawrence. So he kind of guided me a little bit, asked me, like, is this really what you want to do?
Okay.
And it also got me thinking in terms of, will I be happy or will I face the same situation if I move to a different role, say 3 years down the road? So at that point in time, I was in more of a local kind of role. I was asking myself the next progression, what would that be, right? And naturally it would be like a regional role. Then I asked myself a follow-up question. So if I go to a regional role in an MNC, for example, fast forward 3 years, will I still be unhappy like where I am now?
Okay.
The answer was yes. And I asked myself why. And the reason was simple, was because I wasn't looking at just progressing. I was really looking at doing something purposeful. I was looking at creating a legacy for myself. So through that conversation with my mentor, it got me thinking a lot deeper than just looking for next job, chasing the job title, chasing more money. And I realized obviously all of us need money to survive, right? But to a certain level it's enough, right? More than that, doesn't move the needle much. But what really hit me was then, I really wanted to leave a legacy for myself, my family. And at that point in time, I was very passionate about HR. So I wanted to kind of come out to say that, how can I create an impact for HR to make sure that it's going to be more recognized, get the recognition it deserves. So that kind of drove me out of corporate to make me realize that was something I really wanted to do. So when I first came out as an entrepreneur, it was more like, I want to start a movement.
Okay.
In terms of advocating HR, where you can do more than just admin support, recruitment, payroll. I want to prove that as a HR professional, you can do things like consultancy, storytelling, community building, tech, a lot of different things, which I'm doing now. And I'm proud to say that I've achieved what I wanted to achieve in a sense. And that was my original intention. Then when I came out, I realized that, there are more things I can do. And I got excited about business because it's actually very interesting as well. So that was how I kind of slowly progressed from one to multiple businesses. I closed a couple and started more. So that's a bit about how I progressed from a corporate HR to where I am now, I guess.
And what was that first business that you did?
It was a solo HR consultancy, actually.
Okay.
So back then, for me, it wasn't about making money. I mean, to be fair, I'm not very well to do back then, but I had 3 years of savings.
Okay.
I said my objective was to come out to kind of showcase what HR can be in that sense, to advocate the movement of this HR kind of stuff. And I started as HR consultant because it was a very natural progression. So like I said, the toolkit, right? I had all these tools to do general HR consultancy. But very soon I realized that it wasn't working. Because I always say this, right? From branding perspective, if you target everyone, you end up targeting no one.
Yeah.
And back then, I was a HR consultant where I felt that I could do a lot of things. I could do talent engagement, employee engagement. I could do recruitment, so on and so forth. Everything, right? Because I had the experience, so-called.
Yeah.
But then I realized that the market doesn't see me as expert in anything.
Yeah.
And interestingly, what pivoted me, right, and what really helped change the game at that point in time was that I started listening feedback in the market. The feedback was then people were starting to look for me to speak about millennial engagement. So I'm a millennial, I'm in HR. So back then, a lot of HR conferences were getting me to talk about how can HR be more effective in engaging millennials, in retaining millennials. So I realized that, so that is actually my branding back then. That was my USP, unique selling proposition, and that was how people perceive me. So branding to me is what people say or think about you when you're not in the room, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that people associated me with back then. Even though that wasn't my passion area, but I felt that it was an opportunity to get me started, to build a niche, and then pivot from there. So I started talking about millennials, how to engage, how to retain them, tying back to employer branding. And very soon enough, once I became somewhat recognized in the market for that, I always say dominate the market, dominate the space. I then leveraged on that to pivot into the next space, which is employer branding. And employer branding was interesting for me back then was because I love marketing branding, I love HR. Natural combination to me was employer branding. So I leveraged on my kind of early day success in millennial engagement and stuff, pivoted to HR, employer branding itself, which then helped me to kind of grow a lot into the multinational space. So that was kind of my early day success in some sense, actually.
Okay. I think that's a good segue to actually move on to part 2 because you shared about how you eventually started your entrepreneurial journey and how it actually unfold. So I think we can proceed to part 2.
I think that's an interesting sharing that you said. You've got to keep building. So when you have a toolkit, it gives you some form of leverage. And I also like the sharing where you said good attracts good. And sometimes what people don't know is it attracts in multi-folds. Right, multiple times. And with that being said, see you guys in part 2.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
SellingDistrict 65 is here to guide. Find your dream home with them by your side. For the best deals, you'll be in heaven. Call 87616-867.
Menyo.
Okay, so Sarah Pet Manor.
That's right.
Okay, so I think this is your how many months? 1 month. 1 month in, is it?
Thereabouts, 1 month in.
And the location to 5 Juchat Place.
Yeah.
Wow,
So we are located
premium.
at 5 Juchat Place. So you all can come here to send your cats for grooming, cat interaction, and if you can see later, just in this video you will see cats running around. So we are actually in the cat interaction space right now. So there are promotions going on. Okay, you can check out with us. We have another contact number for grooming. What's the number again? 876-86844. Yeah.
Wow, quite close. The number.
Yeah, numbers are quite close.
Okay, so 1 month you guys have been running the Pet Manor.
Correct.
Do you guys call it Pet Manor or how do we address the place?
For short, you can call it ASPM.
Yep.
ASPM.
Yeah, Sarah Pet Manor, so ASPM.
Okay. So 1 month in, how do you find running a Pet Manor so far?
Exciting. There's few challenges also.
Okay,
the challenges Gaby will tell you. Exciting part, I excited to say because we have a lot of we have 10 cats.
Yeah, currently.
Around here.
Okay.
And all different breed. So come check out lah.
Yeah, we
Come
have
down.
Maine Coons, Ragdolls, we have a Bambino, and if people are not sure what a Bambino is, it's a
Sphinx.
It's a
Munchkin.
Sphinx Munchkin.
Okay.
Like a Sphinx but kaki pendek lah.
Okay.
We also have a Munchkin, our smallest yet one of the older ones, but she's super tiny. She's micro, like a micro cat.
Micro.
Yeah, and then we have Persians. What else do we have here?
Maine Coons.
Maine Coons.
So what is the fun part and what is the challenging part?
The challenging part is first thing first, of course, because we are Sarah Pet Manor. Our tagline is adoring love and affordable luxury. So every time we have to care for other people's cats, when they come in, because we are doing grooming, right? We have to keep to a certain level of standard.
Right.
Yes, above what we expect. So the care that we give to them, to our customers, babies that come in, fur babies that come in, we have to really follow our SOP step by step. Sanitization, make sure there's no cross contamination. Have to check if the client's cats are coming in with flea or mites, if they have ringworms, if they have any fungal infections, if they are sick, if they are vaccinated. A lot of protocols for it. So that's quite challenging, especially when we have like a huge number of cats coming in. But thankfully our groomers are all professionally trained. All of them are also cat lovers. Yeah, and when you support us, 10% of our gross profits goes back to the stray animals of Singapore.
To the community feeders.
Yeah, and shelters and community cat feeders.
Nice.
Okay. You mentioned that you don't like mix them together. Those who come here for pet grooming and also the ones for the cat interaction, right? So how do you separate them?
Okay, so the cat interaction space are so-called our cats, our in-house cats. Okay, so people pay a fee, a certain amount of dollars to play with them for about an hour. Currently, we have a promotion going on 1+1 at $18 an hour, right? Okay, so when the cats, that's coming in for grooming, right? Usually they will come in cages. So we will bring them behind. So we have the reception area, and we are in the cat interaction space. We have the grooming area, and then we also have our
actually
pantry.
segregated in 4 parts.
Okay.
So cross-contamination is not possible. We will not let our cats mix with also our clients' fur babies lah.
I see.
Yeah, to avoid our cats, just in case if they get any diseases or anything that's contagious. At the same time, we also want to prevent our client's cat from getting any
Infected.
diseases. So vice versa, we want to protect our babies. We also want to protect our clients' babies.
I saw recently, I think I can't remember which online forum. They say that right now, this Ramadan period, a lot of the cat grooming places are always full. Is that really true?
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually quite true. Because kita nak raya, cats also want to raya lah.
Baju raya for cats.
Some
Yeah, raya
household
for
that
cats.
really didn't shower their cat, like malas, no time. So it's easier for them to send. And at the same time, you all do your own shopping, and then the cat pun.
Yeah, just contact us for booking because we have pet transport as well. So we'll pick up your cats and we'll send them back.
Yeah,
Wow, how convenient.
Our own custom products as well. Our own products, and then we do custom accessories as well. So we are doing quite a number of
So
things
soon to
in
come.
one
Yeah.
space.
So we'll be selling like freeze-dried treats soon. Our own in-house brand under iSarah Pet Manor. So and then after that we are having laser engraved products. So you can just send in your pictures. We have keychains, we have coasters which we might be bringing in lah. So yeah, soon to come, inshallah.
Cool.
So that means if my daughter were to be here and then take a picture of the cat,
Can just tag us. Then actually for those who come at the moment, we are giving away free engraved keychains lah. Because we are still testing the machine, right? So log on to our what's the place that they can TikTok.
We have Instagram, we have website. So you guys can just click on the link on our social media. All the details will be there. We are open daily from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you can walk into the Per and Play Lounge. So currently our promo is 1 for 1, $18 per hour. Our cat grooming starts at $55 onwards. We have pet products, pet food, custom accessories. We also do pet transport. So not only necessarily to come here, if you do, alhamdulillah, but you want to go to the vet, you want to go to a chalet, we can do that as well. It's a very comfortable van that's equipped with disinfectant, equipped with fans. It's very comfortable. Yes. So we will strap the cages down. So
so how do you guys manage to juggle running ASPM and also your real estate business?
Yeah, as it is already, I'm sitting here. You see, I want to switch camera really very difficult because I love cats, right?
It won't bite lah.
No. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so how we juggle? Okay, thankfully, Big Boss don't put hours on us to be here lah. Big boss meaning my brother.
He's flexible. Thank you for that.
Right, so
Not that flexible. What do you mean? Just the brother cut all the time. This guy.
okay, so we don't have to clock in hours. So basically, it's still free and easy. We just manage our time accordingly. So we can still use this space here to do our property work.
Awesome. It's like your office.
Yes.
Some clients, actually one client said, can we do a consult? I have one client that came and said, can we do a consult at your shop at the pet space, it'll be very nice. My kids can play while we have a consult. I say, of course, sure, because we got drinks. We also got a bathroom we need to use. So even if the consult is 2-3 hours, we'll be more than happy to host it here.
Become multi-purpose already.
Yes. Cats are known to bring down depression also. So a lot of people when talk about property depressed, right? So here they reduce.
And then if they're hungry, we're just right next to House of Seafood. Whole stretch,
Options around.
Yeah, a lot of eateries, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Right now it's good because have Ramadan Bazaar, right?
Yeah.
So they can walk 5 minutes walk over there.
And then we have ample parking space right opposite our shop.
Yeah.
Open car park. So yeah. The cats are creating a circus right around us. If you guys are wondering.
The what's it called? The side car park's a bit hard, but you need to go to the entry side, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. What time? Okay. Yeah. So we'll get to the next part to ask you guys more about your real estate journey in the past few weeks.
Okay.
All right.
Right, should we wrap up?
Yeah. See you in the next one.
See you. Bye bye.